Who remembers Spider-Man 2? Before we even get into the video, let's just take a moment to appreciate Bruce Campbell's beautiful narration.
Sequel time already, huh? Welcome back, I guess. I'm sure you miss me more than I miss you.
This was a different time for gaming. You don't see stuff like this anymore.
First things first. You're not much of a wall crawler if you can't, stick to walls. So here's what you do. You walk or run into a wall and hold the grab button. Voila. You stick to the wall.
I did it!
Let's talk jumping. Hold down the jump button and you'll charge your jump.
Alright.
This yellow bar shows how strong your jump
I'm
will
charging
be
it.
when you let go of the button. You got it?
Yup.
You sure? You don't actually jump until you've let go of the jump button. Okay? Now go jump in a lake.
Dude, I don't even have to commentate. He's literally doing it for me. See, anybody that's watching this video that is under the age of probably, I'd say like 17 or 18, you probably aren't old enough to actually remember this game or this movie, because this movie came out back in 2004. And this game also came out in 2004. I remember going into GameStop and getting this game, actually. God, I don't even want to know how long it's been since I walked into a GameStop to get a PS2 game. I mean, at this point, I don't even think they carry PS3 or 360 games anymore. So for those of you that are unaware or never got to play this game, this was basically the definitive Spider-Man game before Insomniac's Spider-Man in 2018. The swinging, the action, the crawling, the open world, like everything about this game was literally perfect. It was the definitive Spider-Man game before Insomniac's came out, and funnily enough, Insomniac's Spider-Man took so many cues from this original Spider-Man 2 game that you're gonna see throughout this video. I mean, if you look at the swinging here already, you can see a lot of the mechanics that were brought from this game into Insomniac's. You got the swinging and then holding the jump button to let go, and then the further you get into the game, you can actually unlock more tricks and skills that you can do in midair, like you can do backflips and side flips. One thing I like about this game is they have two different swinging modes. So they have the manual one where you have to like charge it up at the end of each swing, but they also have an easy swinging mode where it automatically like lets go and helps you while you're swinging. I've always stuck to the manual mode just because I like having more control and I like pulling it off myself. Not to sound like the typical IGN reviewer here, but it makes you feel more like Spider-Man. All right, we got our first robbery. It's time to get into the action.
The arcade just got held up and the robbers are driving away. What are you gonna do about it?
I'm gonna go get him. Now, the combat in this game is truly amazing. This was before Batman Arkham Asylum and before, like, basically every single superhero game was trying to use that combat system in their games. As you're about to see, there's different, like, combos and stuff you can do, and the ragdoll effects in this game are absolutely beautiful. You run up, you punch them, their bodies start flopping all over the place, and the sound effects are so crunchy in this game. Every time that you land a punch, it just feels so clean, like...
Spider-Man just showed up!
Just listen to that sound design. And then my favorite move to pull off, as you guys are about to see right here, you run up to him and you hit him with the uppercut, and then you can literally just juggle him in the air like this. It is one of the most satisfying combat systems in any game that I've ever played. It's crazy how this game is literally turning 19 years old, this game. It is almost 20 years old. And as you guys can see on your screen, I mean, graphically, sure, it doesn't look like modern day games by any means being released on the PS5 and the Series X, but it still looks good considering it's 20 years old. I remember this map was revolutionary at the time too. As you can see, it's a 3D map, and if you look really closely, you can see the cars moving on the streets. And mind you, again, this was running on like the original Xbox, the PS2, like a 3D map like this with all those little details. Like, this is revolutionary stuff. And then as you're about to see right here, you could go into like comic stores and arcades and you could buy upgrades for your character, whether that be increased swinging speeds, different tricks you could pull off in the air, different combos. And then you have these beautiful CG pre-rendered cutscenes. Now, not every single cutscene in the game looks like this. There's just like a few pre-rendered ones. I believe it's only this one, and then there's one in the middle point of the game during Doc Ock's presentation, and then there's one like right at the end of the game. But like, just, I literally don't even have any words. It looks so good. And even though it's pre-rendered, like, so much love and care went into this game. And you gotta remember, this was at a time where licensed games, they were kind of hit or miss. They were either really good or they were really meh. Chapter 3, punctuality is the thief of time. Our objective, go to the pizza parlor. This is not only one of the most iconic, like, missions or set-aside missions in a game, but it is also one of the most iconic OSTs in gaming. Not even just in gaming, but, like, OSTs, period. And actually, oh, wait, never mind. I was lied to. I forgot. We have to actually go to Dr. Connor's class first before we can go do the the pizza stuff. And as you guys are about to see once we get to Dr. Connor's class, that beautiful pre-rendered CG cutscene, yeah, that isn't what you get from the entirety of the game. There's a bit of a dynamic there. Occasionally you get the nice pre-rendered CG cutscene, and then other times you get the in-engine cutscene, and while it doesn't necessarily look bad, it's definitely quite the dynamic. I actually just did playthroughs of all 3 of the original Spider-Man movie tie-in games last year, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, all on the PS2. For Spider-Man 3, it gets a little finicky because the quote-unquote definitive versions of those games are on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and then there's different versions for the PS2 and the Wii, which is the version that I played on the PS2, and then you have like a version on the DS and the PC.
Let them get the case.
Give us the case and you won't get hurt. I got her. Let's clear out of here. Spider, we're gonna need more men.
Beautiful in-engine cutscenes. Now we're about to show off some more of this combat. Look at that, a triple uppercut sent them all flying through the air. So many games and superhero games nowadays try to focus on the hyper-realism aspect, but man, I do miss the days when you could play as Spider-Man and just uppercut a dude like 50 feet in the air. Even though it's ultra cartoony and like, you know, realistically launching a guy that far up in the air isn't really possible and would result in some pretty serious injuries, it's still just the funniest thing to me. Just, whee, launch him up in the air.
Case secured.
The in-engine cutscenes are honestly great still. Sure, they don't have the same fidelity as the pre-rendered ones, but man, you know, they still have their charm. This was back in the day too, when like, when it came to faces in video games, you know, there was less polygons for them to work with. So when it came to like mapping textures to the NPC's faces, it's pretty hard to see, but basically they just took like a 144p render of a real human face, and then they just tried to map it to the best of their ability to like the 2 polygons they had to work with in the face. This was another cool mechanic in this game. There's certain areas where you're able to switch out of your costume and switch over to like your Peter Parker attire, just, you know, like this, like you're seeing here. There wasn't too many instances like this in the game, but this was one of them. And then every time that you go to the Daily Bugle, you have to go into the bathroom and change out of your Spider-Man costume and change back into the Peter Parker costume. And I honestly love that because, you know, while I love playing as Spider-Man in a Spider-Man game, I also like when Spider-Man games show the dynamic of Peter's life and show both his time as Spider-Man and also as Peter Parker like this. Like, that's part of why I love Spider-Man. I love how he's so relatable. It's part of that thing where it feels like Spider-Man could truly be anybody. And furthermore, the real Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, is basically just like another normal guy out on the street that you'd see every day, except, you know, he has superpowers. So every time he's not doing normal people stuff, you know, he's swinging around the city fighting bad guys and stuff. Like, I love that dynamic. All right, it is time. Access.
I got a bunch of pizzas to deliver and you're late. Always, you are late. Well, now you have to hurry. Get going.
Don't worry, Mr. Aziz. These pizzas are in good hands.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely get him there on time. Don't you worry. Just embrace it.
No.
I won't do any cuts. I'll be quiet. I'll let us all embrace this moment. Let the nostalgia flow through you.
Oh, good. My pizza. Thanks very much. All right. An empty delivery bag means it's time to head back.
It's so good. I can literally listen to this all day. It is so good. This game also had an amazing roster of villains. You had like Mysterio, Doc Ock, you have run-ins with Black Cat and the Shocker. There are so many compliments I can give this game and so many things that I love about this game. And as much as I want to talk about it, honestly, I'm gonna hold myself back from it because all I'm gonna say is, if you've never played this game or if you've never experienced it, don't let the age of the game or the look of the game or anything like that deter you from playing it. Because I mean, look at this. We're swinging through Times Square, and even though this game is almost 20 years old, look at how good this looks. This looks amazing, and the frame rates aren't dipping too bad or anything like that. Like, it's keeping a pretty stable FPS, and it looks great. So please, whether you emulate it, whether you have real hardware, whatever you gotta do, please give this game a chance, whether it's the Xbox version, the PS2 version, whatever. You can also still get it for a reasonable price on like eBay or Mercari if you'd rather have it physically on like real hardware, which personally, that's how I am. Even though I support the idea of emulation and I like the fact that people are trying to preserve games, I'm the type of guy, I just like to play the real games on their real original hardware and just get that feel for it with like an original PS2 controller. And plus, there's so many different ways to upscale these older games. Like I said, I'm playing with a PS2 to HDMI converter, and while it doesn't necessarily upscale the games, I'm looking at the picture right now and it's definitely a lot cleaner than it usually would be, and it seems to feel a bit more responsive just due to the fact that this is a digital signal rather than the typical analog one that you get with the AV cables. And then if you would pick this game up on like original Xbox, you can get the pound cable, which basically converts the 480 image into a 720 something sometimes 1080i image on certain games. Anyways, I just wanted to have a look back at Spider-Man 2, get a little nostalgic, and just talk about one of my favorite games of all time. So now I definitely want to hear from you guys. Do you guys remember playing this game? Have any of you ever played it before? Have you ever even heard about this game before? Are you considering looking into this game now after watching this video? Whatever you're thinking, I'd love to hear from you guys. But anyway, as always, a shout out to the Patrons and channel members: Carmen's Fave Grandma, Liberty Tab, Big Daddy, Matty, Chalupasaurus Rex, Razak, Polar, Ray, De Webster, Lamas, Bianca's, Pickers, Horry, Drippy, Sant, Mellow, Asking, Peter, Magic, Mason, Irving, TJY, 15, Flimmy, 71, Aaron Reynolds, and Unknown. If you guys end up enjoying this video, I actually want to turn this into a series just called Who Remembers. Basically, I'll pick an older title, or maybe not even just an older title, just maybe a more niche title, or maybe just some games that people haven't talked about in a while, and then just kind of talk about them, reflect on them, get a little nostalgic. So if you guys would like a series like that, well then, I have quite a couple games that I already have planned if this video does well. I grew up during the PS2 generation, and I know there's a lot of games that this generation doesn't even know about, so you know, I just like making videos about it, bringing more attention to them. Anyways, I've been blabbering long enough. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. And remember, don't go hollow. Peace.